Hello and welcome to Simple Social Sciences. Today we are doing a simple psychology lesson and we are looking at Wundt and his contributions to psychology as a science. By the end of this video, you should be able to 1. Define introspection, 2. Explain what is meant by structuralism, and 3. Discuss the significance of Wundt's contributions to psychology. Let's begin. In this unit, you'll be looking at a number of approaches. Each of these offer a different perspective to studying and explaining human behaviour. Let's take it right back to the beginning of this timeline when psychology didn't exist. So, between the 17th and 19th century, psychology didn't really exist, at least not the way we know it today. It was simply a part of philosophy. Philosophers were interested in the way we think about ourselves and whether this shaped our behaviour. So at this point, it was a type of experimental philosophy which used a form of introspection to examine one's thoughts and feelings. Wundt also used introspection, however, he didn't quite use it in the same way. Wundt is known as the father of psychology, and this is because he played a key role in separating psychology from philosophy, and he helped to establish psychology as a distinct scientific discipline. There are 4 major contributions Wundt made to psychology. In 1879, he opened the first lab dedicated to psychology, and from this, Wundt developed many topics based on this new psychology, and this was published in the first book on psychology. Many firsts for psychology, which involved Wundt. Wundt was interested in studying the human mind, and his approach became known as structuralism. This is because he used scientific methods to study human consciousness by breaking its structure down into smaller components, such as sensations and perceptions. In order to study the human mind, Wundt used an experimental introspection method that enabled him to gather more accurate data for internal perception. For the very first time, the scientific method was used to study the mind, and these highly controlled, standardized methods allowed his procedures to be replicated, and therefore Wundt marked the separation of psychology from philosophy. One of the questions I always get as a teacher is, what exactly is introspection? And I think the best way of helping you understand what it is to have a go at it ourselves. Okay, what you need to do is get your notes app open or get a bit of scrap paper. You're going to number this from 1 to 3. As you listen to each clip, I want you to write down your emotions and your thoughts as you listen to each one of them. There isn't any deeper meaning or thought behind any of these clips. I just want you to think about how these clips make you feel, what they make you think of, and write those down as I play them. Okay, I'm going to start with the first one now, so remember you're writing down what you were thinking and how you were feeling. Okay, that was clip number 1. If you need a bit of time, you can pause before I move on to the next one.
Every day when you're walking down the street, everybody that you meet has an original point of view. And I say, hey, what a wonderful kind of day. You can learn to work and play and get along with each other. You got to listen to your heart, listen to the beat, listen to the rhythm of the street. Open up your eyes, open up your ears, get together and...
Okay, that was clip number 2, and I'm about to play the final clip. I wonder what some of your thoughts and feelings were for those clips. Comment them down below and let's see if we share any similarities. I know the Arthur one definitely takes me back to when I was a kid, so that brings back lots of emotions and thoughts for me. Okay, so that's all introspection is, and Wundt did exactly what we just done now. Obviously, he didn't use BTS or Arthur, but he had highly trained assistants who presented the same stimuli and were asked to record their thoughts, feelings, and sensations in that moment, which is just what we done. Our research used control conditions because the same instructions were given to each of you, the same stimuli were used for each of you, and each clip was played for the same amount of time, which was 30 seconds long. So this is what we mean when we say Wundt used standardized methods. It just means the procedures used in the research are kept the same. And this was important because high levels of control are a key element of scientific research, which is why this was an important contribution to psychology. Therefore, Wundt's work was significant as it separated modern scientific psychology from philosophy, and so it set the foundations for experimental psychology. Okay, so now we've explained Wundt's contribution to psychology. However, we also need to discuss the significance of these contributions. One of the ways we can assess how significant his contributions are is by comparing them to what other approaches have done for psychology. We can start off by having a look at the behaviourists. By the beginning of the 20th century, the scientific status of introspection was being questioned by many, particularly by behaviourist Watson. Introspection focused on internal mental processes, and these had subjective methods of analysing these thoughts. Therefore, behaviourists rejected introspection. This is because behaviourists claimed a truly scientific psychology uses the methods of natural sciences, such as objective measures and highly controlled lab experiments, and should not be concerned with things that cannot be observed or measured. So it could be argued that the behaviourist approach played a bigger role in establishing psychology as a science, and therefore offered a greater contribution. Following the cognitive revolution of the 1960s, the attention shifted away from behaviour and towards the study of mental processes yet again. However, this time the study of internal processes was regarded as a highly scientific area within psychology. This is because, unlike before, lab tests were used to make inferences about how these internal processes work. So unlike Wundt's subjective methods, these are objective scientific methods for investigating mental processes and how they influence behaviour. So it could be argued that it wasn't Wundt and it wasn't the behaviourist approach who offered the most important contribution. And it could be that the cognitive approach is what established psychology as a science, and therefore offered the greatest contribution. By the 1980s, the biological approach became the dominant scientific perspective in psychology. This approach also makes use of experimental data, and recent advances in technology have led to the use of sophisticated scanning techniques, such as fMRI and EEG, which are used to investigate physiological processes. So I guess as time has passed and technology has advanced, psychology has become more and more scientific in different ways. However, it cannot be denied that all of this started back in 1879 in the very first lab that Wundt established for psychology. Wundt clearly paved the way for psychology to evolve into the scientific discipline that we know today. Okay, that's it for today, guys. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like. If you are listening on SoundCloud or Spotify, make sure you follow so you don't miss out on future videos. If you are listening on YouTube, then subscribe, and we'll see you next time.